Oh, I should probably dump the audio into my headset.
Dump it to your headset. There it is. Just wondering why that took so long for the backdrop picture to actually res in there. It came up black. Weird. Anyway, good morning, and we got Thomas here on the live chat there. Say hello, Thomas. Oggy. I think he's broken it again. He'll come back in a second, I'm sure. Dilbo, how you doing? Mr. Mitch, g'day.
I think I'm here.
There you go.
I think I'm here, therefore I am.
Therefore, you shop, therefore
Can you hear me?
am. I can hear you. Yes, you can hear me. Roy Goyd, good morning. Patrick, come on, get to that. Baruli Senior, yes. Michael White. Michael Wright. Good morning from London. Must be an early morning start for you, Michael. Sorry to keep you up so late. What's it? Roy Goyd. So you got your retirement extension all done. Good stuff. How much did that cost you, Roy? I got to sort mine out. So starting from next week, I get my health insurance next week. Good morning from Mr. Dilbo Baggins. Dilbo, I still love that name. Inmates, g'day Andy, how you doing, buddy? How's North Korea, Victoria going down there? We're going to talk about that today. Perfect, good. Anyway, look, let's. What are we going to do? We're going to start the show with some funny shit, I guess, while everybody starts to tune in. Where we got? There we go. So, going into the small screen, going into there. What's that? There we go. Now accepting applications for a partner in crime. Must be fluent and smart ass. Have little or no morals. Adult language and parcel. What's that? Feedback. Oggy, you've got it on the wrong. Oggy, you got your speakers all wrong. Did they sort it out? There you go. Yeah, and partial nudity may be required. What was that? You had your headphones on? I see you said you had headphones on.
My headphones are doing something weird.
They're doing something weird. It was feeding back from something anyway. We can try to be perfect all the time, but it's technical glitches always. Melbourne, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Sean Mark, how you doing? From sunny USA. Like what you did to your summer home. I like what you did to your summer home, Warren. Oh, yeah, the backdrop. I wanted a bit of a beach view today. We can always dream. Oggy sort of said he didn't know about the statue, but the picture I found wasn't quite full desktop resolution. Had to trim a bit of it down, but if I got rid of the thing, it made it too blurry. So I said, "Oh, let the statue can stay there."
Okay. I think I got my audio figured out.
So Roy Goy, so use an agent. You pay according to your situation. Around 20,000 baht for me. You on Facebook with me, Roy? If you are on Facebook, post me a link to the agent so I can make contact. I've been thinking of getting an agent to do this shit, but mine's fairly straightforward. I've got bank statements are done, or well, they're not done, but it's really all I've got to do is just fill the form out, bank statements. Next week I've got to organise my health insurance, and then just front up to Chanya and then stand in the queue for 6 hours. Anyway, moving right along.
So does your queue you leave your shoes in your position of the line and then go do stuff?
You can do that if you want to get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, but that could be bad. Like, that's a 5 o'clock start.
I saw one of those. It's like, wow.
Frig that for a joke. That's a 5 o'clock start from here. No way, thank you. Yeah, anyway, so I'm worried about the superposition of USB sockets. Quite honestly, I have to agree with this one here. Like you pick up a USB plug and plug it in. It never goes in first guy. Almost never goes. You have to fluke to get it in. Then you'll turn it around the other way, and it still won't go in the second way. It's not an action until you look at the damn thing, right? Look at the socket, and it's got its unique superposition of USB plugs. Always. Anyway,
you do have to look at both.
You do. That's it. You can't just look at one.
It's not like Schrodinger's cat, where you just look at the cat.
Yeah.
No, you have to look at the box and the cat to determine if it will fit.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of stupid conspiracy theories, but I'm fully aware that governments slow down time on weekdays. Slow down time on weekdays, and they speed it up on weekends. Who's going to agree with me on that one? Honestly.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Things I'm still waiting for.
Or actually, it's the weekend, so it's only 50%.
Things I'm still waiting for. Flying cars, hoverboards. Actually, they have actually invented a hoverboard, but it needs a special track for it to run on. So it's a track that's actually got magnets underneath the floor or something like that. It's magnet, but it does actually work.
Oh yeah, the new superconducting magnets.
There is a hoverboard that does exist, but it's limited use. Hi Warren, remember vampire sockets? Vampire sockets for the data 20 years ago. Vampire sockets. I might be calling them something different than what I called them. I solved that problem by sleeping with the work from home and auto mouse movements. I did it right, fair enough. What else? Tim. That's all right, let's have a conversation later. Later, Tim. Girls, sometimes you just need a hug in the vagina with a penis. Yeah, bed cartography. Her pillow, apparently her pillow also.
Well, yeah.
Where she's supposed to sleep, where I'm supposed to sleep, peacekeeping buffer zone, where she actually sleeps, where I actually sleep, uncharted territory. I don't know, who else has that situation at home? It's the same for ladyboys too, I'm telling you. It's just not a gender thing. When they assume the female role, they seem to assume there's bed cartography. Believe me. William Pearl, good morning. How you doing? Modern love. Was it good for you? Seriously. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Saviour Kaluthu? I honestly, if I was tank diving, even skin diving, and I had one of those things come up behind me, I'd freak the shit out. I really would. Joe Elliott, good morning. Okay, well, looks like the gang's all here. Who's ready to come back to Thailand? Who's ready to come back to Thailand? Enough of that shit. Yeah, just wake everybody up. Why not? Yes, wake everybody up.
I just want to get there for the first time. Yeah.
Get there for the first time. Okay, so I don't know. So what I was going to talk about today, well, what the main topic was based on this particular video I did last week, and we'll probably do a little bit of a sneak preview of what the guys talked about if you haven't seen the video. I'm sure most of you already seen the video. But it was in a sort of like there's a counterpoint that was recently sort of came up on the Khaosod English. We've had a lot of political unrest here, over the last few weeks, with the student bodies of Thailand and everything else. And there was this article that came up: can FARANGS get deported for taking up a political cause here? Well, personally, I look at the fact that I can't vote in the country, so why would I even bother getting politically motivated in the country? But it did highlight a particular thing that I thought I'd like to bring up, which was I I would challenge I would challenge people spreading these rumours to a single cause, spreading these rumours to point to a single cause of a foreigner deported for going to a protest or for posting something critical on Facebook or Twitter. Human rights complainer Phil Robinson said in an interview, and the truth is they just won't find any. Right, and what he goes on to, there's a lot of negativity out there about Thailand that goes on all the time. And, like, we tend to sort of, keep our heads down, and toe the line. But I've actually been spending this week trying. Good morning, boss. How you doing? I've been trying to find examples where, as long as you don't break the law, right, finding examples where foreigners actually get tossed out, right, for having just for being part of the community. The fine line is breaking the law, and there are specific laws to do with these political protests that go on, getting violence, attacking people and so on and so forth, physical violence, but just exercising free speech, right? There has yet to be anybody that's been identified as being tossed out of the country just for exercising free speech. And yeah, it was an interesting thing, but the point that I was trying to get at is the fact, let's talk about this a bit. This is something that me and Stephen do talk about quite often, but Stephen's not here. He's obviously helping his mother out again or something. So good for him, but maybe he will pop in later. It would be pretty stupid to get involved in another country's political system, even if you don't agree with their politics. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I said, I don't have the right to vote, right? So that's the way you exercise your political stance in any country, is your right to vote. Like we've got this shit coming up in America now, which is the American elections, and all I see on my Facebook feed these days is the complete Trumpism that's going on over there, and the anti-Biden. I just hope Biden gets in, because I think Trump's a complete fool. But I'm not even an American to even sort of given the opportunity to vote there as well. But all they seem to do is make up memes against Biden for some reason. Absolutely none of the stuff that I see on the Facebook feed has any foundational basis of actual fact. Whereas, like Trump for the last 4 years, the facts are just, what was it, Nancy Pelosi sort of...
Fake news, man. It's fake news.
Yeah. Nancy Pelosi sort of, I think recently on this week, said she doesn't want Biden to even enter into the debating situation. Why? What was her point on that? Well, her point was the fact that, a debate is where, two people, talk, and build a story around their particular points of view. Whereas, Biden's got nothing to hide, but everything about freaking Trump is just completely bullshit, right? He can't keep a straight sentence from during one conversation, let alone across a week or something. And one day he'll say one thing, and the next day he says, "No, I never said that." When the evidence is quite obvious that he just said it. Here it is on Twitter yesterday, and you said that, you dick, and you say you didn't do it. For the last 4 years, people have been putting up with that shit. Yeah, look, I'm not having any fear about being thrown out of Thailand because I'm talking about American politics, but quite frankly, I can say what I want about the political system of America. I do feel uncomfortable saying things about the political system in Thailand, right? But again, I really don't have a problem with the political system in Thailand. I think the political system in Thailand seems to be working. They're not doing things that I would probably say are the most intelligent things to do, but we don't have a situation where we get all the information. This is, again, I come from an industry where statistical data was that was my stock and trade. I built systems that analysed statistical data of the shopping habits of people, And it's amazing how you can take a set of statistics and you can manipulate those statistics just by the narrative to present to a client to say, well, Heinz baked beans is doing better than SPC baked beans. Look at the data. Of course, you don't show them all the data. You only show the data that sells the account, you know. And this is what we get left, right and centre everywhere we go with the political spectrum is manipulated data, and people have got no idea how much manipulation goes on. It is absolutely ridiculous. From a person on the ground, I see absolutely no problem living in here in Thailand and the political system. It doesn't impinge on my freedom to do anything I want. I do understand the fact that there's a certain political bent in the younger generation here in Thailand where they would like a little bit more democracy, right? But they've got they got more democracy here than they got bloody in Victoria right now, that's for certain. Like Victoria right now, honestly, you can't even leave the country. Well, that's Australia-wide, I think, so correct me if I'm wrong. They've basically banned people from leaving Australia, right? That's what happens in North Korea. It's not just, you know, like we're not, you know, Australia's not North Korea, but it's getting that way. Seriously, if you guys in Australia don't, you know, take on the political stance, and you know, I'll get out my, you know, I've only got one face mask, but I think I need to get myself a black wig. What do you reckon? I've got to get a black wig to go with the hat. What do you reckon? I should be putting this on, shouldn't I? But yeah, it's just absolutely crazy, Andy. So Thailand and Vietnam are more freedom than Australia. Yeah, right now it does feel that way. And Vietnam is a communist, you know, country. Thailand is a military democracy, right? And you have a much higher freedom or level of feeling of freedom than you do in those in what you've got in Australia right now, you know. And it's just like anyway. What? No, oh, sorry. I forgot to get. Yeah, maybe I should. If I'm going to have this discussion, maybe I should get dressed for it. I think I can put that on first. Yeah. Of course, I can't see the screen now. I can't read this. Oh, there we go. Oh, that works. Yep. And yeah. And there. How does that go? Oh, oh my God. Is that better? Do I look the part now? If I'm going to have this discussion, does it look the part? I suppose it might be a little bit muffled. That wall is actually going to be for that wall is going to be for us. It's terrible at the moment here in Victoria. People are afraid to leave their homes in case of getting a $2,000 fine. Seriously. Oh my God, it's crazy, this world we live in now. My audio sound, maybe just a little bit muffled. Let's move the microphone a little bit closer, just so. You can't leave your home without a mask and lockdown at 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. At least when we had the lockdown here in Thailand, not that I was really into it, but it was at least at 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. At least you could still get, was it 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. Okay. At least you could still get out at night and do some shopping, you know. But 8 p.m. that is absolutely, like, seriously, you're all prisoners of Victoria. It's ridiculous. Matthew Stewart, good morning. Long time ago. Oh, Robert Mack's joined there. G'day, Robert Mack. I thought, you know, like we're doing the whole, you know, we're going to have this discussion. We might as well look the part. I just can't. It doesn't seem to work with the hat. I've got to get the black wig. If we're going to have this discussion, we need a black wig. Yeah, I think that's the next thing I have to buy, a black wig. Just, you know, one of them with the black fringe. I think, you know, that'll make this thing. You can't leave your home without a mask. And Steve, what else we got? Well, Western countries are now more like dictatorships in many ways. Yes, I have to agree with that one, William. It's just ridiculous. Government leaders just lie during the election time, then follow then following day do the opposite. Politicians in general are self-serving. Totally. I can't agree with you more there. And again, they're no longer visionary. I think, like, I always refer back to the 60s when, who was it that, Stephen's joined the crowd. Yeah, Stephen. Hello. I thought you probably want to join in on this one. Yeah. So what was?
Just been busy with Dad still, so I've got a free moment.
Yeah, was it in the 60s where he had? Who was it? The guy that launched the space program. What was it? That was it Nixon? No, that wasn't Nixon. It was. I can't remember. Augie, help. Kennedy. Was it Kennedy? Yeah. That.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, my mic muted.
Augie,
Yeah,
man.
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, yeah. So, in the early 60s, he launched the space program. He even knew the fact that it would take 10 years to put together. But they had a 10-year vision. And the things that were developed in the 60s because of this long-term vision, now politicians get out there and, like, they're only worried about what's going to happen in the next term, in like 3 or 4 year terms, That's it. Have I got enough, support just to manage for 4 years, because like 4 years from now I could be out on my arse. Well, if you don't do a good job, I hope you get out on your arse. Like that Victorian freaking premier, you know what you're doing at the next poll, get rid of him. But thing is, people have got such short-lived memories when it comes to sort of what happened last year. It's ridiculous. I can't really wear this mask. It's just it looks good, but I think it needs the wig. Be back in a second.
It was the wrong hat. You could get away without the wig if you had the right hat.
Hey? What was that? What was that, Augie? I didn't quite catch that.
I'd say you could get away without the wig if you had the right hat.
Yeah. So I think that the mask needs the wig. I got to get the wig for it so we can really get some political discussion going. Not about, as I said, I've got nothing wrong with the politics here in Thailand. Yes, we have the La Majesté ruling, and we don't want to sort of mention anything to do with the hierarchical system here. That's the way it's been for thousands or hundreds of years. Let's say 1,000 years.
What did you say? The Majesté.
Yeah, les majestés. Look, I can't even say it. It's a French
talk bad about the king.
Yeah. But the political system, like I said, things work. Les majestés. Oh, come on, I don't speak French. Come on, give me a break.
I teach English, but I've still got to pick you up on your French as well.
That's it. Pick me up on my French as well. But so getting back to the point, so nobody, people have. I said we got this the guy Richard Barrow. He gets a little bit political from time. There was that issue a couple of weeks ago where it looked like they were going to deny his visa extension, but supposedly that was to do with a paperwork or a clerical error as opposed to anything else. Why they had to come and visit him for 3 hours, that's still, we didn't get the whole story. And again, that gets back to this whole thing, we never hear the whole story.
What was that due to?
What was that? Yeah?
What did you say it was due to?
Oh, it was a clerical error.
I thought you said paperwork.
Paperwork, clerical error.
Paper.
But yeah, so nobody's ever been thrown out of Thailand.
Go and buy him.
Oh, come, leave me alone. Stay on topic, Stephen.
Paper. Got to acknowledge that joke first.
Got to acknowledge that joke, do we?
Well, if the Pope doesn't want to acknowledge your papal work joke, I guess he doesn't have to.
So you've made all that effort for nothing. Jesus.
Yeah. So what again? So, what we're going to
talking about now, I've thrown him.
It's you. Try to should we all? The topic for today is should we all go home, right? And I want to try to. So what I was going to do is I was just going to play these bits from the video from last week, because there's been a lot of comment and a lot of good feedback I'm getting from this particular video, and people have been sort of saying they would like me to do more of this sort of work. But just for now, let's.
The left should go home. We could, if he keeps bloody getting any bigger, we won't be able to get him home.
My mate Nigel.
Welcome back to our meetup. How long has it been?
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Good to see you back.
So how you coping?
Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in a good environment.
Yeah.
We have the freedom to do anything in Thailand for the most part that we want to do. Lots of things are still closed, so we have to be cognizant of that if we travel to a different province. But overall, look at the meetup group we have. We have 20-ish people here, drinking coffee, chatting. We're going to do lunch, then we'll do coffee after that. So we have the ability to do things that we want to do. I miss traveling outside of the country. I came here to travel a lot, Southeast Asia and Europe. So we'll miss that, but that'll come again, hopefully. And when it does, we'll be ready for it. And then take up new hobbies. Golf, which I can't do worth anything. I'll leave the curse words out. And playing guitar again, which, by the way, where's your bass?
Where's my bass?
Where's your bass?
It's coming. I haven't got the time.
I know. Yeah. Well, Cliff, our drummer, is still stuck in America. I think we got lucky. If you really put it all together, compared to what's happening in America and many other countries, we got very lucky here in terms of the lack of a lot of COVID, lack of death, and the government shut things down. We knew what we had to do. We had to deal with it, and they started opening again. As for Rang, I think we've done okay. We've been lucky. Vance is stuck in America.
Yeah, but he's still over there.
Oh yeah, he's stuck in Houston. He cannot get back. We have 4 good friends to our group that are stuck in America, and we won't see them until next year sometime. Overall, we're lucky. Life is good here. We have plenty to do. We have good friends, but we're slightly trapped still, because I think all of us, or most of us, like to travel outside of the country.
Yeah, so that was Jerry, a good mate of mine, Jerry, just giving his point of view. Now, of course, you probably do have seen that video, or most of the people here have seen the video. But he does, bring up some good points. Like, this is probably one of the very few countries that people actually want to be trapped in. Should we all just go home? I don't think. Well, personally, I don't want to go home, and I don't want to go back and live in Australia. Australia's a complete shithole of the world right now, as far as I'm concerned. It's completely just lost the plot. So this Andy Stubbs down unders wants 12 months of more emergency powers. Is that right? He's trying to pull that card. That's ridiculous, isn't it? What's your thoughts, Stephen? How do you think about this whole situation?
Well, I mean, if you're there and you're, ironically, you can enjoy the situation more in Thailand by being there. Well, that's what it seems like. In a period where, a lot of people are suffering because of COVID, it actually has an upside for expats, and that's the ironic part. But there's more places they can travel. They can get cheaper hotels. They can. Don't have to worry about too many tourists being in the country. I mean, things actually work out better, because that's what I experienced in Burma. When I was there, even though it was being run by a military junta, as is Thailand, I was still able to. In fact, I had more immunity against danger than I did if it were just a run-of-the-mill country under a democracy. I mean, because the last thing oppressed peoples want to do is hurt a tourist, because that wouldn't go down well for them. And so that's the irony of these two situations that a lot of people in Thailand find them in: being there under a military junta, and being there during the COVID. Having said that, I mean, if you're there, take advantage of it, have a good time. I mean, a lot of people would say, get out of there because you're supporting a military regime, and at the moment there's political issues happening in Thailand. There's different viewpoints, but if you don't want to think too much, and it can be just a great place to be at the moment because you've got a lot of freedom, ironically. That's all I'd say on the matter.
Of course, there's an article that was I can't find the article now in the short time I was preparing, but supposedly they've opened up 2 more abilities for people to come in, which is what they're calling. It's again these long-term residence clause. They're about to, or they're proposing to bring in the long-term residence again. What that entails is the OA retirement visa. So I think it's to do with actually the fact that there's a big political push right now with the elite visa, because they're sort of saying, well, they're not tourists. It's a tourist visa, but it's a long-term tourist visa. Right, so basically this is what Thailand wants right now. They want to promote and get the big spenders back in the country to get the economy moving in the tourist sector. But the problem is the fact that the elite visa holders can't come in because it's a tourist visa, and they're not accepting tourist visas. It's a clause, but they're now trying to push the long term. So they've realised the fact that we've also got people like myself in other countries, who have got interests here. So supposedly, reading between the lines, and it's still yet to be verified, maybe it has been verified by the time we go to air, they're looking at the whole OA retirement visa, and it's just saying, if your passport shows that you've been in Thailand for 12 months, you will then be allowed to come back into Thailand. And really, what's really what I'm getting here is what Jerry was saying. The one thing that a lot of expats here are missing is they liked to travel. They'd like to travel to Laos and Cambodia and do a bit of travel to Vietnam and Malaysia, and that's the sort of thing that they like doing. It was part of why they're here in Thailand. It's a central place for Asia, where you have a Western style life, but you can still do a lot of touring around the place at a very minimal cost and enjoy your retirement. But right now we're trapped in Thailand. Supposedly with this clause coming in, it'll mean the fact that people like Jerry and the other guys here will be allowed to get what they call an exit visa or a re-entry permit, because they've been here for 12 months. That re-entry permit will allow them to go out and come back in without any issue. But
what's the interim period? What's the interim period though? Like if they've been here 12 months, if 1 year lapses, is that still?
Well, this is the grey areas that still need to be worked out. But they are at least looking at this the thing as being a positive move, right, to bring the retirees back into the country, the people who are eligible for retirement. You want to get, unfortunately, Victorians or Australians still can't get out of the country, but that's another story altogether. But at least Americans and English and a few other Westerners might be able to sort of look at the fact that if I was trying to think, Robert Mao, I don't know, he's never actually spent 12 months here. Who can I think of?
So you say they're trying to encourage elite visas, did you?
Well, I think that's the big push is coming from elite visas. So they're trying to look at this. They're trying to look at this long-term issue. They want, because of the fact that you're going to have to do the 2 weeks quarantine. You're not going to. You can't avoid the 2 week quarantine, no matter where you go. And again, sort of even bouncing out and coming back in, that will still mean the fact that you're still going to have to, whatever quarantine issues you have to deal with outside Thailand, and then when you're coming back you're still going to have to go through the quarantine issue as well. But at least Jerry would then get an opportunity to the fact that if he wanted to go home for 4 weeks or something, it'd allow him to get back into the country. Right now we've got 4 Americans that can't get back, 4 Americans in our group that can't get back into the country because Thailand says, Americans, stay the hell out of the way. We don't want you here. You guys have lost the plot.
Is it for essential services, or is it just to get more money, do you think?
Look, everything's around money, right? Like I'm going out either tomorrow, this afternoon or tomorrow. I don't know if you know a place called the Art Box. It's on Sukhumvit there. It's across the road from Soy 7 Taknung, which is where Susie's bar is. I actually heard on last Friday, yesterday's meetup, one of the girls, she's fairly close to the what goes on. The Art Box is shutting down. Now that's been a sort of a cultural spot in Sukhumvit there for the last 2 years. It has had a longer history than 2 years, but it became a little sort of a little hot spot of hive of activity. That's being shut down, because it's no longer commercially viable. That plot of land that they're on, the developer wants to put up another freaking 50-story building. So stuff that's it. We're putting up more hotels. You can't even fill the ones you've got. It's some of the crazy decisions we get. But again, these are long-term projects versus short-term. Thailand is heavily dependent on tourists. Right, 12% of their GDP is tourism. I don't know what
a lot of people tried to claim they weren't, but it is. I mean, if they examine the situation carefully, I mean, it has tentacles everywhere.
Yeah,
it affects
and
motorboat riders, it affects waitresses,
it affects every part of life. Every part of life, because it's the money. It's the money side. There is a lot of money in tourism, which then it's that trickle down. Like like we talk about in the West, we talk about the trickle-down economies, which never work because they give tax breaks to the freaking multinationals, right? And the middle class pay all the bills and pay all the tax. And I think I said that last week. And the people at the bottom end of this, they're just there to scare the shit out of people in the middle class, right? That's what we've got in the West. Whereas here in
trickle down economy is an indifference of a kind, isn't it? I mean, it's just.
But in Thailand we do have it. But in Thailand we do have that. This is where the trickle down economy does work. So it's the people in tourism. The money comes in, right, and it's a cash economy, which trickles through the whole of the lower and middle class society, right? Because you don't get it from the upper class. That's it. That's an echelon that you just can't get over. So you need that this middle class, right? This tourism class economy. That's what feeds 30 million Thais, right, effectively across the country. Right, and quite frankly, right now they're eating noodles because they haven't got any money, and it's doing them a terrible disservice. But again, they just want to get this is the thing. How do you fix it? Well, get the long stay people in. Stop making it hard for us to do our renewals. So from what I understand, people are finding the renewal process is fairly easy. As long as you've got all the boxes ticked, you're okay. Health insurance, money in the bank. Right, and paperwork done. Make sure got photocopies of everything. Everything's double photocopied. Walk in there and it's pretty much paint by numbers. Bang, bang, bang. Out you go. 9 in 4. Thanks very much. Couple of markup. First super chat for the day. Now, William Poole, so here he says, I think most foreigners know when they arrive into Thailand they should not get involved or voice opinions about politics or royal family. Just smile and enjoy. Now, what I'm picking up on there is, this is a thing that I'm finding a little bit off-putting right now is, Thailand is known about, it's one of the things, we talk about the Thai smile. When you do this, where's the Thai smile gone to? It is starting to make the whole society a little bit sad because...
Haven't they got about 8 different smiles? Depends which one you're talking about.
Well, look, as we said yesterday at the meetup, 90% of the Thai smile is fake anyway. It's a brave face to a otherwise dull existence if you're making 300 baht a day.
I don't agree with this sentiment that we should not have an interest in Thai politics. We live in a global society. They're relying on that global society to prop them up. So we ought at the very least be able to express our opinions as long as we do so. This is what this article is.
It's nonsense.
That's a nonsense.
This article This article is saying the fact that there is absolutely nothing wrong and nobody has ever been deported for talking about politics. There's issues that people are being kicked out for breaking the law, right? Like attacking the establishment, attacking police, doing things which are physically breaking the law. But there is absolutely nothing in their law system that says you can't have an opinion and talk about a political issue, right? In a sensible and justified way, like what we're doing now. I have no fear of being deported, right, today because we're talking about the political system. We're looking at the political system here in Thailand, and we're looking at in counterpoint the political system in Australia and the political system in America, and whoever else joins us, we'll maybe Glue will join us as well, and we'll talk about the political system in Singapore if he gets on the microphone. You get the idea. So there's nothing wrong with talking about politics in general. As long as we just don't get narcissistic and it's just saying like all politicians and what's his name, General Prayut, wishing him ill harm. That's a different sort of thing. You don't wish people harm. But you can have a sort of a definite counterpoint to a political system. But as I said, I'm right now, I get very little involvement with the political system, and I see no need to even get involved with the political system. Right? Nothing is really broken. I don't agree with all their decisions they're making, but I think they're starting to come around to the fact that maybe they need to be taken a little bit more care and responsibility for the people who choose to call Thailand their home. That's something I'm seeing a move in the right direction. So something better than what's happening in Australia right now anyway. I did notice Dale joined us. Hey, Dale, sorry I didn't sort of call you out there. And I said Blues obviously joined us as well. Singapore is a total authoritarian island. Get on the microphone and just give us a bit more on that one. How you like to talk about unless of course you feel that you can't talk about it. But I'd like to get your opinion on that one, Sir Blue.
Singapore's a dynasty. It's just been there's no way your vote makes any difference there. I mean, Singapore is an entrenched authoritarian system. It's a totalitarian government. It's another interpretation of democracy. It's a totally guided democracy. And the average person's vote means nothing. They're very, very controlled under the government.
Are they?
Have been for decades.
Yeah, Bill Pulis, he's just saying they obviously want to encourage, this is here in Thailand, they want to encourage big business and wealthy people back in the country first. Money generates money for the most economies, and tourism is required too. It's needed to trickle down. But again, it's one of those economies that it does seem to have a better trickle-down effect than what we sort of see in Australia. That's for certain, from my opinion.
Malaysia is the same too as Singapore, by the way. I just interrupt. Sorry, they're the same. I mean, it's also a guided democracy, totally authoritarian state. Every country interprets democracy in their own way. The actual concept of democracy has been so diluted that it doesn't really mean much anymore. There's no such thing as a true democracy. However, in terms of, say, a US or Australian type society, democratic society, that does not exist in Singapore. Thailand was a monarchical democracy, and now it's not a democracy at all. And Burma arguably is still not a democracy. They say they're transitioning to democracy, but they're not, of course. They're all under they're military, run by military juntas, so arguably they're worse than Singapore. Singapore is also arguably worse than them because they're actually entrenched. Authoritarianism is actually entrenched among their people. Where there may be some hope down the track that the Thais get to vote again. They've seen a history of coups, and it may be a situation where they get to vote and their vote means something once again. But this is the worst situation that's ever existed in Thailand, I think.
Yeah, and this is what this is what the students are politicising right now is that particular thing. Whereas we had.
They don't want to be like Singapore. They don't want to be like Malaysia. I mean,
and I agree. That's the thing. But as I said, I don't get the chance to vote, so I can't do what in every democracy. I can't do the one thing that begets a democracy, which is actually cast a vote of my opinion, right, and who I would support.
Oh no, so, you can't. You're not in Australia. You're not in America. So you've got to. You've obviously.
Got nothing to do with me.
You've got to take care of your own welfare and safety first. You can't be seen to be doing it. I mean, that's reflecting the fact that I wouldn't say it's nothing to do with you, but I'd say you can't be blamed for not doing anything because you're not in an environment where that's not even an option for you. It's not even an option for the Thai people. So how's it going to be an option for you?
So I know Andy's putting all Western Australia is going to secede from the rest of Australia.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for years, Andy.
Yeah, well, it is. There was actually a movement. Something happened a couple of 20 years ago. Some part of Western Australia actually did attempt to do a secede, didn't they? There was some guy started some sort of thing. He wanted to sort of secede from Australia because of the way the country was run. But yeah,
it's the most expensive state, Western Australia, in many respects. I mean, it's terribly expensive here. Even in terms of the pension, I think you get less here than you do in other states. There's less it's a very expensive place to live. I don't know how it's come about. Maybe because it's a mineral state. We have a lot of wealth and minerals. It's a very expensive place to live.
Just talking about minerals, there was an article I read yesterday for those people looking at investing. Nickel will soon become the new gold. You heard it here. Second, nickel. Yeah. EV batteries, although 2% of the EV batteries, they talk about the lithium in the batteries. A primary part of for every EV car, there's about 30 kilograms of nickel in them, right? And the planet has had at least 10 years stock supply of nickel for the building of EV cars, but within the next 12 months, that stock of nickel is about to dry up. So
what's the EV stand for? Is that environmentally friendly?
No, EV, electric vehicles.
Oh, electric vehicles, sorry.
Right. So we're about to get a shortage supply of nickel because there's been no new nickel mines, that are environmentally friendly or environmentally aware nickel mines being built.
F the environment, dig it.
Right. There is one there. I think there's two countries that are very well positioned for the nickel sulfides that makes the nickel. One is Australia, and another one is Canada. Canada has got the largest supply of nickel sulfide in the world, but Australia, or Western Australia, is actually pretty close to it. So like if you're looking at investing in precious metals, nickel. They say with the growth of the EV market now, nickel will become the new gold because it takes about 10 years to get a mine into full production. And quite frankly, right now, the world glut of nickel has disappeared or will be gone within 12 months. And there's going to be a catch-up. Nickel become the new gold. Anyway, you heard it here first. You heard it here second.
You mean my nickel's going to be worth more than a nickel?
Your nickel will be worth more than a nickel. Buy nickel.
Gather up all your nickels, Oggy.
Go and buy
your nickel.
Unfortunately,
under the bed again. Find them all in your car.
Unfortunately, that stuff's not nickel. That's only copper. It's not nickel at all.
No, our nickels aren't copper. Our pennies aren't even copper anymore.
Yeah.
They're tin.
They're tin, are they?
Copper-colored tin.
So George, good afternoon, George. How you doing? Breaking news: Trump wants to trade Puerto Rico for Australia. Mr. Mitch, it's expensive in Melbourne. Yeah,
they caught him cheating at golf.
Is that right?
What did they expect? What did they expect, really? Jeez. It's probably making golf great again.
Perth used to be the most isolated city in the world.
You know they call him Pele at the golf course, right? because he kicks more balls than Pele does.
Yeah.
51 being the state of craziness.
As a gimme.
Yeah, imagine his moves on the golf course. That'd be hilarious to watch, wouldn't it?
Oh.
You'd be watching him every second.
Yeah. Anyway, so Blue did join us. So Blue, do you want to give us your feelings about how your political system runs and how you feel living in that society? If you
be giving his female caddies the reach around.
Yeah. Blue, I know he's there.
Yeah. I'm here. Yeah.
So how do you feel about living in Singapore? Like, what's life like there in the political environment and everything else?
And don't swear, Blue Sing.
Yeah, no swearing.
On my take, I think it's partly modernizations in the city and a sort of like a communist thingy ongoing too, because of it's a total authoritarian state. So basically we don't have much so-called as what you all have discussed democracy, freedom, right? So we can't really do much about it. Yeah.
You can't do much about the system, but what is life like under that regime? On a personal day-to-day life.
Do you feel oppressed?
I'd say it does.
Of course, I feel oppressed if I'm educated or I've learned about how real or what does the word mean of democracy means to me. But if it's a typical Singaporean or a local fellow who doesn't get himself exposed to or talking to the people that trying to explain to them what's the real meaning of democracy, then I think they are all out of the loop and they'll continue in their own kind of fanfare, So, that's it. It's life of Singapore.
Okay. I always try to bring it down to the three basics that is human life. A roof over your head, food to eat, and clothes to wear, right? They're the three essentials for any human being. How does
fear too?
Look, I'm scared of spiders. I live in fear of spiders.
Yeah, that sounds like a Russian state to me.
But no, so okay, so
living without fear is probably my
roof over your head, right? Clothes on your back and food to eat, right? On those three basics, how does Singapore fare? Do you feel that you have adequate housing and affordable housing where you've got to do certain things to you've got to walk the line in a certain direction to put a roof over your head? Availability of clothing, you got freedom of choice of clothing, and you can eat what you want, and those sort of basic things. I always try to look at it and simplify everything down to just the three essentials of life. How do you feel about those three essentials? What outside the political spectrum?
We have all those like medical care, housing, the basic essential needs. We all have it, but Singapore's what they call it, the political arena or their kind of way is that they keep a certain percentage of the population as they call it the top of the food chain, right? The elite, right? So they have basically that kind of large sum of money which they can buy a small piece of land. I mean, it's not maybe one rai or something like that, and then they can build their own house.
Exactly. Yeah.
And things like that, it's a landed property, and our landed property. Okay, let me emphasize there. We have this, like we are staying in the some kind of a condominium, as what you all call it, but I'm staying in a flat, and it's leased for 99 years, right? And there are some who is they call it the freehold property, where every yearly you got to pay your landed tax and mortgages, which you have some outstanding payment to pay for that property. So that is some kind of hard-hitting figures there for landed property. So that's how they actually contain or to sustain those top elites people in Singapore that if they can afford this landed property, like they sell it in like, I mean, talking in terms of Singapore money, right? It's about 1.5 million Sing dollars and above, way above that, And despite of all this, they still trying to so-called to lure those big corporations and successful company CEOs and what's not, to buy a property in like Sentosa Cove, like for example, Sentosa Cove is like more than like what 3 million or 5 million kind of figure.
How about Tampines?
Yeah, and Tampines is like maybe 1.5 million or something like that,
So half.
Yeah, it's half of it, and then you have.
They're all living in boxes. All living in boxes as well.
Yeah, all in boxes. Because Stephen has ever visited Singapore, so
many times.
Yeah, so it is what it is. So a lot of our foreigner friends and visitors, they do like it on the first sight, and after they start to go into the working environment, the system, and mingle around the locals, and after that they they applied their Western kind of democracy thingy on it, and then somehow they look at it. Then from there they knew that it's a loophole, that it doesn't work for them. So probably some of the foreigners friends I have came about and contact to is maybe like give them about 3 to 5 years, and most of them will say, okay, I had enough, and then they'll just pack and go.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I believe that Stephen is one of them, but he did mention to me that you are staying in Singapore. I mean, you are staying in Singapore for 3 to 5 years, yeah.
You don't have to be bright to realise what's happening there. I mean, I used to go along the MRT, and you could literally see. So you got Tampines, then you got Simi, and you could literally go down the line, and you can see the differentiation in wealth.
Yeah, right.
To me, that's a metaphor for what's happening in Singapore, but I'm sure there are many other metaphors you could use to describe it. I found that people live a very stifling lifestyle. That they just feel they're overly controlled, overly regulated, and there's a ceiling on everything. There's a ceiling on your happiness. So it's not just a matter of clothing on your back and food and basic essentials, but there's even differentiation there. I mean, I hear you loud and clear, Blue Sink. I mean, I felt all those things, and I wasn't even living there, but I've been there enough times to know. I lived in Tampines for a while, just for with my girlfriend there. But that was clear to me, the differences. As soon as I got on the MRT, I got down to central. What are they called? Downtown in Singapore.
City Hall, right?
City Hall. That's right. You could see the difference. I don't think I would want to live in Tampines or even Simi, which is a little bit above, I think, if you would agree.
Yeah, it's a bit the outskirt of town. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there. No, not full time. It's all right. You come in as a tourist, you see these places, you go, oh yeah, nothing wrong with Singapore. There's a lot wrong.
So again, the counterpoint I have here is, we talk about Thailand being a military democracy and everything else, and how does the three equations of a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and the food, right? Well, we probably have the best food in the world, but I like Thai food. Clothes on your back, great clothes at a very affordable price, and the roof over your head. Like I said, like 3-bedroom townhouse here, 9,000 baht a month. Whatever that works out at, right? Yeah, but
you won't get that in Singapore.
But what I'm getting at here is the fact that where is the opportunity? If Chanya was living in Australia, as example, the red tape bullshit that she would have to go through just to open a salon, right, to make more money to better her life, right? It's like chalk and cheese between Thailand and Australia, right? She found a rental property. She goes in, a couple of bits of paperwork, and she's up and running in a business. It just required a couple of 100,000 baht to get it up and running. Now, to me, people sort of think that this military democracy is a repressive situation. I think it has the best opportunities for anybody to change their situation. right, without fear and oppression. They have got the system, and basically it's a lack of paperwork when it comes to that stuff if you're a Thai, right? As I said, she couldn't have done what she did in Australia, absolutely no way, without having to kiss somebody's ass, right? That's what
I agree
it's like.
with what you say about Australia, but I disagree with that you know, under this military junta that they can do all these things better than, I mean, they could do those things before the military junta.
Well, that's right. The thing is that the military junta hasn't changed that way of life. Thais have got the best opportunity to make their lives better if they want to do it and want to work. Of course, it's an uphill battle, and it does
That's
require.
no credit to the military junta, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the junta. That's got to do with the fact that's a Thai way of life. And again, this is the discussion we're having. And should we all go home? You know, and based on the political systems around the world, well, does the political system actually change their way of life in most respects? Yes, there is, you know, their economy seems to work, but of course it's struggling because of the tourism. But as I said, the things you can do, like I said, this is something there'll be a video about this, but like I've ordered this top box, right, for my motorcycle. Let me just get out of there. Right, so I went in on Thursday, went there, 320 SP. I've actually got some footage of that. So you know my bike, you know, that's my cruiser, that's the new handlebars on the cruiser. But I want to change this back, the can't even get my hand, the back sissy bar, and I want to put a top box on there so I can do some more running around and put my helmet off, you know, lock the helmet on the bike and everything else. But anyway, I was there on Thursday, and you know, just said, look, you know, I've got this bike, the light, I checked them all out. Said, yeah, it was just like, found somebody who could speak English, right? We talked the process through, and I says, well, they didn't have the rack part, the thing that I need to use to mount this thing on the bike with. And I just said, well, can you get it in? And he said, we'll have to call the factory. And I said, what, 1 to 2 weeks? He says, I don't know. I call you. And then I got home that night, and he says, oh, you come here tomorrow. just the way things work over here, just like, you know, we quite often poo-hoo the bloody system over here about, you know, the way, comparing it to the way it worked in Australia, but everywhere I seem to go and I want something, or I want to do something, or want to have something, or want to eat something, it's never, there always does seem to be an initial challenge, but for some reason they just get around these problems. And again, it's not nothing to do with the political nature, but it's just to do with the fact that, do I want to go home? Of course I don't want to go home. Life, you know, I'm picking this thing up on Monday, so that's a new addition for the bike. It gives me a bit more flexibility to get around the place. And again, you know, they brought out this new licensing rule. Well, it's, you know, that's a decision from the lands and the land, what they call the Department of Land Transport. Yeah, okay, so it's a new rule. I've been riding for 35 years. Does it worry me? No, I'll worry about it when it comes to renewing my license time, you know. It's a test. What can they tell me after 35 years of riding a bike? Do you think I can't ride a fucking, can't ride a bike? Of course I can ride a bike. Just like, you know, they're just going to just tell me what to do, you know, in English, so I understand what the instructions are. That's the only thing I'll be challenged with. And hopefully 3 years from now I'll be able to handle the language a bit better. That's the only thing I've got to worry about. But it gives the example, like, just things just seem to just get done here. Like when I went to get the handlebars, and I explained to the guy what I wanted. No problem, we can do that. You know, we can do that. It's, everywhere I go, the political system is an overruling or an overarching difficulty. You know, we don't have our freedoms as a democracy, but for a general everyday life, I don't see any impingement of our freedoms. Things get done, things get made. You can set up a salon if you want to have a salon. Just go to school and start a salon. If you want to have a motorcycle shop, just find a garage and start building motorcycles. If you want to do it, the lack of red tape is amazing here when it comes to being a Thai. Of course, that's the thing that we quite often relate to is, you know, we look at it from, you know, like, we're here in Thailand as a foreigner. I'd like to do this. No, I'm sorry, you can't because you're a foreigner. You're a guest here. That's the things that get annoying. But then again, it's just money. It's just somebody else to do it. The life is the life. But anyway, so that's just my 2 cents worth on the whole issue. But let's just see what everybody else is talking about. Just everything's scrolling off the screen here too fast. Mr. Mitch is saying Florida the backup plan if Thailand doesn't happen. You'd actually think you'd actually choose Florida over Thailand. Oh my God, seriously. I hate to own a car in Singapore. Too expensive. Is that right? The cars are expensive. Cars expensive in Singapore, are they?
100,000
Are they expensive? Yes.
just for a
Yes.
stupid car. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's getting like I said, more than Thailand. So I thought, Honda Civic in Australia. What you pay 28,000 for a Honda Civic, and they're 45,000 here in Thailand. I thought that was extreme. Yeah. But yeah, as you're saying, a Honda Civic in Singapore is like 100,000. Oh my God, we complain about Thailand. Seriously.
100,000 is only like give you like one of those 1.6 liters
Really?
cars, and those what Avante or something like that. Those Korean El Cheapo cheap made cars. It's not something fancy like your V8 or V6 engine. All right.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and so we quite often sort of poo-hoo Thailand. Geez, I'd rather live in Thailand than I would in Singapore, that's for certain when it comes to that shit. Mr. Mitch, 1904, stay to the west coast of Florida. Everyone on the northeast settles on the east coast of Florida, much more quiet on the Gulf Coast. Is that right? I wouldn't know. It seems to be a lot more developed on the east coast of that peninsula. But I've, of course, never been there. I wouldn't know. Aussie red tape is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, another point I'd like to add is, Warren, if you see the size of Bangkok, where you are staying, and in Singapore that where we had, and you can see that, like, as a tourist, right, you go everywhere, and then there are always many cheap alternatives to stay around in Bangkok area.
Which don't
Whereas
exist
in Singapore we fail on that. I'm very very honestly tell you, as a Singaporean, we fail on that. You can't really live as like you want freely as possible, and like to be like move around freely in Bangkok kind of.
And it's expensive. It's
Yeah,
bloody
it's
expensive.
yes, it is. It is super ridiculous. Very very ridiculous.
I
It's like
remember
you're
in
given a
91,
choice.
I paid $18 for a beer.
$18 for a beer.
You can actually go around the whole city in Bangkok and try to pick and choose which place you want to live in for a night or two or whatever, how long you want it to be. And in Singapore you can't do that.
That's
It's
a good
sad,
point,
isn't it?
Lucy.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You can just straight away. I mean, I've been to Bangkok many times, so it's like I can see the differences in like our governance planning, urbanization planning, and like they call it the recreational for tourists or for locals and what's etc. But it just doesn't work that way, right?
Same things happened in Perth. You would probably be interested in. It's the same similar thing in Perth. If you come here on a holiday, there's very few cheap places where you can stay comparatively to, say, Thailand. So it's very much along the same lines as Singapore, but they just stifle all hope, all sense of hope, all sense of freedom. It's only for some, and I could not enjoy myself in Singapore at all. There's no comparison with that in Thailand. I mean, Thailand is in danger. That's why the young people are protesting now, because I think people are the same everywhere. We could argue, say, oh well, Thais would never accept a Singapore. Well, Singaporeans would never accept a Singapore. So the people are the same. We fooled ourselves with that. But certainly there are more freedoms in Thailand. There's more sense of community.
Yeah, exactly. Because sorry, Stephen. Because I'd like to add on that is that we as foreigners, as for example, I'm in Singapore. I'm a Singaporean, right? And then I go to Bangkok. I go to the place in Thailand somewhere, and then I'll start talking about politics and the differences. And I'm not mocking about the monarchy system. We just had an open conversation talking about the civilization. The rules of do's and not, things like that. and we won't get ourselves into like bad shape, like the Thai police or the authority were going to kick us out of Thailand. And I just want to give you a rough guide. Okay, Warren, here's my take. You just come over here and then you said something about Singapore, and the next moment you're on the aircraft. You know what I mean? That's how ridiculous we are.
Yeah.
You're talking about openness, like the Thai government actually gives the students space and time to let them have their own protesters,
Right,
and
yeah.
let them vent out what they wanted to do, and let them send a message to the government.
So
and
long as they
have
don't break the
good
law. Yeah.
Yeah, a good argumentative or collective discussion, like between the authorities and what they should do and what they should not. Let them give them some time to rethink what they have done, or to correct what they are trying to correct. Things like that. And in Singapore, we don't have that. Yeah, you just said something wrong, and then the next moment, if you're a foreigner, they'll send you out on the next plane.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it's more entrenched. Yeah.
Mr. Mitch, unbelievable what comes out of people's mouths when it becomes law. Defunding police, taking over police stations, and so on and so forth. I'm just been watching what's going up in America, but again, there's a lot of stuff that we see on the news, but it seems to be small pockets. It's not like that. The news seems to paint a picture of the fact that every town, every city, every state is falling apart. But it's only from what I understand now, when I looked into it, it's only a half a dozen places that are hotspots around America, or the rest of the freaking country just couldn't give a damn about what's going on in America. And they're the ones who have to go and vote in 4 months and sort of try to fix the problem. Poor guy. But anyway, only the wealthy ones have it. Yeah, one man's freedom is one man's freedom is another man's unfreedom. Can't agree with more on that one, Stephen. What system still protects? I think that this is one thing that I think it gets annoying is the grass is always greener on the other side, whereas people have tried to change their way. I tried to change my situation by running my own business, which was like going out there and taking all the risk. And that was great for 7 years, but then of course after 7 years you get disillusioned by the fact that you're being a bank to multinationals. They want things done, and you got to service them, otherwise you lose the account, and then they don't want to pay. So you're being a bank for every multinational client that you've got, and you've got no banking rights. That was one of the reasons why I shut my business down, because I couldn't leverage. I couldn't create my own credit card, for instance. To leverage a banking system that would work. Just lending money to people, I can't even charge interest on it. Well, I could, but the thing is, you got no. The only way to actually collect interest after lending money to your corporate clients was charging them extra, and then of course once you start charging them extra, then they take the business elsewhere. Nothing you could do about it. But banks seem to lend money and get, they had the law on their side. They could charge interest on the money that they're lending to everybody. That was one of the things that disillusioned me about the freaking whole running a business thing. But yeah, it didn't cost me $50,000 to set my business up. I think it cost me about $10,000 to set up, but that was 1995. And I was 3 weeks or 2 weeks away from being totally broke before I won my first corporate client. But then that was $150,000 for sale, which basically that was launched our business and sort of started, made my first million. But that was in those days. I don't think anybody could do it now for that sort of price. It's ridiculous. Cheaper to buy a house in William Poole. Cheaper to buy a house than a car in Asia. Well, depending on the car and the house, but I get the point. It's one of those sort of things. Depending on where you're buying the house and where you're buying the car. So yeah, I suppose people saw the Mayor Groves' house. We did the wander through the Mayor Groves' house on the Wednesday. That was a lot of fun. Just catching up where banking is centred. It's always expensive. Most bankers can afford what others can't. That's the same as in most global cities. Yeah. Just trying to see if what it was to try to keep everything on track. What do we got here? So can't really blame the people being anti-police after they kneeled on the BLM. That whole BLM seems to be a sort of a storm in a teacup as well. What makes blacks feel that they're being oppressed? They've got every right to go and do exactly the thing as a white American, right? Get a good education, and I've seen many blacks that have had good educations and doing extremely well in America, right? What's the problem? It seems to me the fact that the people who do the complaining are the ones that can't formulate a sentence properly, or when they do talk in a sentence, they talk in some sort of riddle or rhyme. They don't use proper vernacular, proper English, and then they wonder why they don't get understood. You know, learn to speak English first, you cretin. I don't have anything against the black people in America, but like quite frankly, I've sort of seen these people that create the problems over there. And you'd need 5 of them to make an IQ of 100, right? That's what it seems to me. Well, what went wrong there? Well, you didn't play the system. I know the education system's screwed over there, right? And that's one of the problems I think we have around the world, is how do you educate people when the educators aren't educated? There's problems of our system altogether, not so much a political system. It's the problem of the fact that the information is doubling every the stored information on the planet itself is being doubled every 190 days now on this planet. The stored information, people don't realise. And how does the human brain cope with that? Right? We're getting to the point, the fact that within 10 years, the information stored on this planet will double every month. It's people don't understand, and then you got people trying to teach people things, how to live a life, when information that we've got access to and what can be given to people, right? The human brain can't even cope with it. And so how does an educator somebody half their age to cope in a world that the educator just can't comprehend? There are ways around it, but of course it doesn't. I think the education system is completely broken right now. Maybe Malaysia is an option for people stuck in the middle of Thailand and Singapore. Well, except for the fact that Malaysia is predominantly Muslim, and that they have a pseudo Shahara law, which I'm totally opposed to. Shahara, is it? How do you pronounce it? Shahara.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Shahara law. That's the only thing I have against Malaysia, right? Just any country that promotes
Sharia law, I think it is.
Sharia law. Any country that puts a religion above the people, I think, is a country to stay completely clear of, right?
No, it's all right. No, guys. I think you got it wrong. But if you have the money to roll into Malaysia, I think it's all right. Because like for me, I'm a Singaporean Chinese, and then they can't impose that kind of Sharia law on me, right? Because I'm not a Muslim, right? Anyway, Malaysia is also another one of those. It's the same as in Singapore. It's a multicultural country where they have Indian, Malay, Chinese, and the mix of Westerners. Yeah. So they're pretty all right. Those who have the money, and then you can withstand the hot weather and things like that.
Yeah. Money buys a nice standard of misery.
Yeah, you can actually live there, but but it's a bit hot,
You can live there and be oblivious to all the ailments that beset most people.
Is that right? Right. The study I've said, Andy says he doesn't think it has Sharia law, but from what I've read and so the investigations I've done in Malaysia, right, their political system has a heavy focus on your spiritual pursuit, right? And any government that factors your spiritual well-being over, the benefit of the population. Well, come on, like, it gets down to my biggest argument. My imaginary friend in the sky is better than your imaginary friend in the sky. Come on, can we get real again, guys? Like, seriously, politics and religion just need to be kept as far apart from each other as humanly possible, right? A person's person's pursuit on their spiritual well-being is that. It's a personal pursuit. And anybody coming to tell me how I should think about a spiritual pursuit, give me a gun, I'll shoot the fricker, because...
No, that's the shortcut of their idealistic of politics between the spiritual and the You get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, America's just as guilty with their overly Christian bent on their society. It's one of the least Christian nations on the world, yet it seems to be so overly politicized in this spiritual pursuit, right?
Yeah, but actually,
honestly,
on the hindsight of history, if you look at it closely, the Christianity has been brought into the Spanish and then try to to what do you call it, to cultivate them, right, and turn it into something else. I mean, politicize it lah, as in really using religion wise.
Well, I said they're using religion, of course, well, Christianity and the third century Nicaea. That's when they politicized the religion, the major religions of the world, into a sort of a political tool, and it's just been the same way ever since. But that's another story altogether. I'm not going to go into. But it's been butchered ever since, and spiritual pursuit is no longer a spiritual pursuit. It is a political tool, right? And if you don't fall into line with the political tool, then you get victimized, right? Either by the government or by the people around you, because they're all sheep. It's an imaginary friend in the sky. There is zero proof that God exists. I'm sorry if I'm going to lose subscribers over there. There is zero proof of an existence of any deity whatsoever if you really look at it, right? Even scientists can prove that there is no foundational evidence of anything above what we've got. Mind you, we don't know everything, but, to make it a political tool, come on. Let's just look after people. Let's look after people. That's what the religion was supposed to be for, is to look after the people. Now it just seems to look after the politicians, right? It's ridiculous. Anyway,
I think it will take us millennia years to come into that, because we as human beings, there are some of us who have quick thinking and advanced perception and thoughts about it. So basically, we are we don't believe in any kind of this shit, and it doesn't work. It doesn't blend into us, right? But there are some people who are really they are into this religious stuff, and then the history and the happening of what is and what, and they blend into it, and then they get like some kind of a hitchhike, they just fall into it.
Yeah,
and
I look at the typical one, again, back to the Muslim sort of regime, or the Muslim ideas, and looking at those sheep walking around that monument, that Hajj, or what do they call it? Thousands and thousands of people just circumambulating around this box in the centre of a square, and that makes them better than everybody else. What the hell is that all about? Sorry for if I'm offending Muslims, but quite frankly, it's beyond a joke what people will do just to purport the fact that their spiritual pursuit is better than anybody else. How does that help anybody? Right? It is suppression. Like, hallowed are the ori, for want of a better word. Let's prostrate for 4 hours. But anyway, enough of the political spiritual pursuits. Lots of monetary.
Back to Malaysia. Back to Malaysia.
The Sultan of Brunei has 10,000 wives because why? Because he can. Yeah, that's right. What you would do with 10,000 wives? You're like, honestly,
Pedicures and manicure.
your dick would fall off, wouldn't it? 10,000 wives. You try to service them all. But Blue was only fellow managed to do an escape from Singapore context. Pedicure and manicure. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. We're getting up to the hour and a half mark. I wanted to go and get some food. I'm sort of a bit on the pecky side. What do we got to talk about? We're going to do something. What are we going to talk about next week? I was just trying to think that this one here was a subject that was a little bit. No, I don't want to do the whole political, what do you call it, religious overtones of political sort of. But it's something that I really get quite annoyed with.
I just got an idea. Is that why don't we keep like a agreement on the talking about Thailand and, for example, like what are the political freedom of Thailand and Singapore or Australia and Thailand and the differences and what's not. Yeah,
well, it's an interesting subject. We need more people talking about it. That's all. I said, Augie's gone to sleep because it's that time of night.
Yeah, in America, things like that. Rather than it focus on Thailand and we knew a thing or two on Thailand and like just wanted to know the differences of each and others between countries and
it's good to say it. But I said I always take it back to those three basic principles. I am into, although I'm fairly educated, I like the simplicity living here in Thailand. Roof over your head for an inexpensive way of looking at a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and the food you eat. Like the three things that float my boat in this ever increasing, ever expanding world we live in, of information doubling every freaking 180 days, right? Simplicity just does it for me. The three things, I don't have to think about that stuff. Mind you, I've even been given some thought. What do you do? Like life is simple, right? In retrospect, life is simple, and it's actually simplified a lot of the way I look on everything over here. But I got to get it to reality. I need to think about doing some other things to probably make an extra couple of $100,000, right? Because effectively, that's where I'm a couple of $100,000 behind the eight ball with all the bullshit that's happened, right? The falling Australian dollar over the last 4 years, other things, or the stock market crash. That's basically, the whole financial. Although things have recovered, right? This, effectively, I still am out of pocket a couple of $100,000. If I look at the real term living plan for 30 years, sort of, till you die, that thing here. I'm going to think about doing some other things. I've got some ideas, but of course it's doing better on YouTube. Let's leverage the YouTube system. There's a new game that's come out that we were talking about before we started the stream. Where is it? Dual Universe. I don't know if you've actually seen this one. There's a new game that's out there. That's been in production for the last 4 to 5 years. It's like it's a civilization. It's an online multiplayer, expansive universe. But the thing is, like, I did something. I was involved in a game platform in 2007, which still pays me today, because I do 3D modeling and things like that. And this game here is about to get still in beta, right? And I was just tossing up the idea with Augie, what to play now. What does it cost? 12-month subscription, €69 Can I get in there and within 12 months build a product catalogue that people would actually buy and be part of. That's the community. Of course, getting in ground level is always like, if I'd got in at ground level when 2003, when Second Life started, you always use the thing Auntie Chung. She was the first millionaire in doing product and things like that in a multiplayer online universe called Second Life. There's an avenue there. Of course, it means the fact that it means I need to get back and start doing some work. It means working on my computer, not making fun videos. But when I was doing this in 2007, I had to stop doing it because the tax man didn't like the fact that I was not paying enough tax on the money I was making, right? And things like that. You get the idea? This is one of those sort of things. I wasn't putting my money aside to pay the tax on the money I was making, so it did cost me a fair bit. So I stopped doing it. Probably the worst decision, but it was a pretty lousy game anyway. But I still make money on that today. I can't write a book in my life, but that game world still pays me today. For a product I made in 2007, so that's 13 years later, I still get paid from that. It always reminds me of the fact that, like, I have the skills. I should really sort of investigate what this has, if there's an opportunity for me to use my skill set and actually build a civilization. And you can join me too, if you're a gamer. I was noticing Stephen Clark just bought himself a new computer. It's better than mine. What am I going to do now? Do I go and spend more money on my computer to be better than Stephen? Probably not. Ian Blake, good afternoon. How you doing? To change the subject, whatever happened to Scott and Pang, who were on the Sky TV document? Scott and Pang. He later set up a bar in Pattaya. I noticed the bar is no longer open. Look, I think the situation there is pretty much, if you're watching Nick's channel, NDTVI, he gives you the lowdown story on what's happening in Pattaya. Like, every second place is closing down. It's just, it's a tourist town. We talk about GDP being 12% of the Thailand economy. Unfortunately, the Pattaya economy is 80% tourism. So basically, Pattaya itself is only making 20% of the income it used to make from a year ago. Right? People can't, Nick's barely holding it together trying to pay for the second bar. He's keeping the Ascendia bar floating, right? There's enough income coming in to float that one, but he's actually out of pocket keeping the second one going, from what I understood from the videos. That's his own pocket to keep that on the float, because there's nobody there. There's no business.
I'd be happy if they bulldozed a lot of Pattaya, to be honest with you. Start again and put another cultural stamp on it. I mean, it doesn't do Thailand any favours. Only certain people get money out of it. So what? I mean, it's the wrong. I'm not trying to be a prude or anything, but it's just a cesspit. It's a shithole. I reckon bulldoze the bloody lot of it.
No, Stephen. Steven, after this COVID is over, I think Pattaya, they will wake up. The whole damn village or the whole urban will wake up. They will wake up from their dreams. They'll start to think of getting into something else.
Yeah, if they want to change the type of person that goes there, bulldoze it. Just excavate it. Just get it. Just get rid of it, and start again. Because
I wouldn't say bulldoze a lot of it, but I think what we're sort of starting to see is like there's different soys are doing different things. Like we're going to happen here in Bangkok as well. We've got Soy 7. Soy 7 used to have what they call the garden bar. It was about the only thing that was really on Soy 7. Now it's a little hive of potentially sort of becoming like
they can still have bars,
Soy 6 in Pattaya.
Lazy, horrible places. I mean, you still have bars. I mean, open air bars are fine. I'm not a prude, but I'm just saying, just these sleazy, really
The-
sick,
the-
places, just bulldozing fuck.
The sexual overtone establishments probably, yes, I think they could do well. There's nothing wrong with the sex industry, to tell you the truth, but can we just not have it so much in your face? Right, that's what I find objectionable. It's in your face, and again, people sort of say like, I don't do that sort of video. That's why my channel doesn't grow. But do I go and do that sort of video just to grow a big YouTube channel?
There's plenty on YouTube, Warren.
It's
Don't waste your time.
a thing. But again,
You can still party without being in. You can still party without being in Pattaya. I mean,
yeah,
it depends on your definition of partying. I mean,
having fun, yeah.
Yeah, having fun, but it depends on your definition of fun. It's like I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but Taya has long since lost its purpose. I mean, it was an R&R place for a while. People would go there to get their rocks off, obviously, and but it's just an embarrassment for a lot of local Thai people. It really is an embarrassment.
It's just gone. It went overboard, right? But again,
slightly.
But it's this particular zero red tape business environment that we have in Thailand. Getting back to the original concept of what we're talking
Like
about.
if it was at the level. Say,
If you see at 7-Eleven, if you see a 7-Eleven shop and a 7-Eleven shop is doing well, guess what? One will spring up right beside it. Well, not exactly right beside it, but there's nothing stopping you from setting up another 7-Eleven right beside it. Even the franchise system of 7-Eleven doesn't prevent that, right? This is the free nature. And of course, what happened in Pattaya? Well, there's a beer bar open. Sort of, I can do that too. And so another beer bar opens. And then they started doing what they call the freelance trade of the girls, and then of course that escalates it.
Brothel. That's all.
Then it gets into the go-go dance and the bar, and Thais just see one person do something and say, I can do that too, and it really costs them nothing to do it. And so there was a sketch that. There's a particular saying or a sketch in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy of the planet Brontitol, right, where the executives of the Zolman Sachs Corporation, they made shoes. They had the shoe shop intensifier array, right. So that basically an experiment on Brontitol was the fact that they pointed this shoe shop intensifier array at Brontitol, and everybody wanted to own a shoe shop, and soon shoe shops outnumbered every other shop until their whole society either died of starvation or evolved into birds, vowing never to set foot on the planet again. If you ever get a chance, you got to listen to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's crazy shit. But yeah, this is what you got. You get Pattaya. That's the thing. You see one person. I can do that too. Nothing really prevent. No red tape. Then two businesses doing the same thing halves the business, and then the business gets diluted and diluted and diluted because then you got 10, you got 50, you got 100 brothels, right? You got 100 bars. How much beer can anybody drink? Well, I've seen some of the people frequenting those bars, and yeah, was it? I think the world record for drinking beer was Andre the Giant. Was it 42 gallons of beer in a sitting, or something like that?
He drank a lot. He actually. He was just, that's what killed him in the end, I think. But
how much beer can for one person drink? And if because you got no beer drinkers coming into the country, that's it. You soon find out the fact that you need trade and turnover to actually make those things work. So yeah, Pattaya is on the way out. Hua Hin's similar, lack of tourists. Of course, Hua Hin has a little bit of a different set of clientele because you've got a lot of retirees chose to retire there because it wasn't Pattaya, and though a lot of people there are probably more inclined to stay because it's a bit of a quieter lifestyle. Pattaya just went over the edge. Talking to the guys down in Kamala and Phuket, again it's just a complete schmozzle what's going on down there now. But again,
Kamala's now Kamala or Kamala is. I mean, it's just a huge red light district there. You know, just off the main town, set back from the main town there. I don't know if Thailand wants to change its image abroad. It's going to take a long time. You know, again, the sort of tourists that you would see there in Kamala is not too dissimilar from that what you'd see in Thailand or some parts of other parts in Thailand as well, in Bangkok. So it's more than Pattaya. It's widespread. It's and they just become almost like slums, you know, sexual slums, or just gathering place. I mean, I don't have anything against bars and sexy women and all that thing. That's all fine, but it's gone beyond that, as you said. It's gone to the point where the sleaze is just, you know, it's right in your face, and it's just people have lost all their sensibilities now. As I said, there's a place for everything, but it's just everywhere you walk. It's less so now. I think that's one thing perhaps the military junta is probably trying to change. Maybe not in the most subtle manner.
That's a conservative nature. The one thing, of course,
a subtle way of dealing with it. You know,
the one thing that strikes me, I haven't sort of seen here in Thailand in those areas. I don't know if you've ever sort of seen. Was it what was that movie? Had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. Where he has his mind altered and he thinks he's you know, a spy or something. What was it called? Can't remember. You can't remember the name of the movie now. They did a remake of it, and the remake had England and Australia as the only two habitable places on the planet. But in both of those movies, they had these brothel areas. Right, and the one thing that Total Recall, that's it, thanks for Auto. Total Recall. Both movies actually picked up on one particular imagery that was common between both, was the brothel scene, right, and they had the women with 3 breasts and things like that. So one thing I haven't seen here in any of those red light districts, because, like, you know, Thailand is a land of, you know, breast augmentation. And I've yet to see a triple-breasted whore. That'll make my day when I see a triple-breasted whore. I'm sorry, I really will. The triple-breasted whore of Eroticon 6. Eccentric. Her name was Eccentrica Golumbus. But yes, it's one of those things. The
thing is, Patrick, I mean, closing bars in Pattaya, you say somewhere else will pick it up. It's already been picked up elsewhere in Thailand. It's not just, as we say, it's not just Pattaya. It's every city in Thailand.
No worries, they'll revamp themselves.
I mean, have open air bars, have a great time, even have places where you can go to get the extra sleeves if you like. But I'm just saying, when you walk into Pattaya, it's just yuck.
Well, at least here, like, so we've got a few bars here along our Petkasem Road. You know, we've got the Portrait, we've got Bahrain, we've got another one. What's the one on the road there? I can't. There's a few, like. It's not like they're next to each other. They're a good, you know, couple of miles between each other, but they're specifically Thai. They're not Western focused. They're Thai focused.
Yeah. I mean, you go to these little enclaves like Pattaya, not little anymore, but you get all these people there, expats there, and their whole life revolves around this industry, and it's almost like it's their little turf. It's a whole mentality there, a depraved mentality that exists there, and just a, you know, that I would have no punction in getting rid of. I mean,
what I was getting at is the fact that we've got them here in, you know,
infestation.
They're not beside each other. There's not like an enclave of them. They're dotted around the place. Somebody's chosen to do a bar. Yeah, the trade does happen there, but it's not in your face. It's very subtle. You know, they got.
You walk by I've walked by open air bars right on the beach in Pattaya. But these old expats there with their singlets on, their big guts, and they've got their arms folded, and they're looking at you as like you've committed a crime, or that you should be asking them to, you know, you should be asking them for permission to even walk into the bloody place. And then if you happen to the misfortune of talking to them, it's just, oh my God, all this garbage that comes out of their mouth. Well, you get a much cheaper beer down the road, and you can get last night I paid this bird 1,000 baht. You just think, oh God, give me a break.
Get a blowjob for 800 baht. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's the whole.
Hard selling, eh?
It's absolutely entrenched there. It's just. It's just
I know.
anyway,
I find it. You know, like
stinks as well.
I find it distasteful.
Well, guys, I like to add that that time like this, right? Those guys who are out there doing such things, right? After a while, I think they will start to change their course of their career. You know, like now they got no one to hanging on and no hard sale and things like that. So these people, they will learn their well-earned lessons of life, and they will move on, and then they will try to do something else already. So the next time, like as tourists, we visit Thailand, right? You won't be able to see any of these guys. I mean, floating around in the bar or in the beaches or whatever. You know, it's like it's a total game changer. You know, this pandemic, yeah, because people will learn the very hard lesson that now I learned that I don't have this kind of tourists to support me to bring food on my family. So they need to adjust their mindset and to find a new job or a new business opportunities or whatever they can find to do there. They'll change. They'll get themselves changed, and then yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was my day yesterday? So my day yesterday was, 11 o'clock at in the Emporium, catching up with the meetup crew. Then we went to have lunch at Arno's. That was the Arno's. That's the burger place. I had a teriyaki chicken burger. Oh, mate, the caramelized onions on that, with the chicken. Oh, mate, it was to die for. It really was. 190 baht. Then we went and had coffee down at True, again in the Emporium. Then after that sort of finished up about 4 o'clock. So then I wandered down to Susie's bar. Well, I actually took the train up 2 stations to Susie bar, dropped in to say hello to Susie for an hour, just because they're my friends, had a couple of drinks there, and then I wandered home. And to me, that was a perfect day. I got to speak to a lot of people, got that community, that camaraderie. We talked about all sorts of stuff like we do here. We talk about all sorts of things, and it was just a pleasant day. People just lost those sort of arts these days. I don't know. I can't see how that could ever happen in Pattaya, or even to the same fact, Hua Hin or Phuket. I'm sure it does at some sort of levels, but it's not the impression you get. The impression you get is just that sleaze. Whereas I have a much more enjoyable day without that sort of part of the equation coming into it. It's an interesting sort of situation. Maybe I'm just over the hill or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird.
Yeah.
Patrick, the only problem is that if you close out the bars and Pattaya, some other city will just take them off. Exactly. It's not the fact that the trade will go away; it'll just move elsewhere. But let's just hope it's just the fact that people will be a bit wary about sort of spending money. Right. I know it's a vehicle people used to gain a foothold to actually live here in Thailand, because it's very cheap to live. Right. You had the 2 million baht to set up a business, and then that's it. The bar will be a business. It has a potential to earn income, but then of course it's that how much income does it really make? Does it make 65? You don't need to keep that 65,000 baht a month coming in. You could effectively, outside the bar, your personal expenses, if you've got a roof over your head, you could probably live on 20,000 baht a month, which is probably all that the income is a bar owner might make after expenses. Maybe that's one of the reasons why bars became so popular, because it gave them a foothold to stay in the place that they loved living in. There's that side of it as well, which is we don't talk about much. But once you put down your roots there, you don't want to leave. Unfortunately, some of those places are, the bars that are closed down now, what they've found out was the fact that, well, they weren't living on 20,000 baht a month. They were living on much more because no business.
A bit of static coming through there. Well, I don't know where it's coming from.
That's Luke Emmy's just joined us. Go, Luke, aren't you in bed yet?
On a Friday night? No, sir.
Hey, Luke.
Sure. Yeah.
I have to come here and make waves.
Yeah, so of course we have been sort of, we've been talking a lot about, you've been following the conversation, we've been talking about the
a
political.
little bit on the, I been following the chat a little bit. I have to agree with that, I mean, in an entirely different perspective about, drawing people to a particular area. I happen to live like very close to the Cowboys, the football team.
Oh, okay, right.
So I have lived here 30 years, never been to a game. So I can understand the perspective of something in your neighborhood that you don't really understand the draw. I understand the draw. But people who want to stay here. So I understand what you're talking about.
Andy Stubb been watching TTT vids a lot. What's TTT? What's TTT vids? Oh, talk back Thailand. Okay. Talk back Thailand. No. TTT. Yeah, go.
I've been to Thailand. I can understand the red light district. Draw because somebody wanted to go there, but from a different perspective, yours, which I love about your show and your YouTube channel, it brings an entirely different perspective.
Which is what we've been trying to do. Yes, this has always been the focus. Is the flip side. Yeah, it does.
100% why I'm here.
It doesn't rank, but I think people who do enjoy the flip side and getting to socialise and all we need is just having people coming back. That's all we need now. We just need to get some of these people that want to live in Thailand coming back to Thailand. They're just it's starting to get a bit oppressive. People, should we go home? No, everybody wants to come here. Everybody wants to get out of Australia.
I've got a long way to go, man, until I can retire in Thailand.
Right, it is. It makes a completely different perspective than Pattaya, Phuket, which I've been to, and I'm very grateful for your channel. I really enjoy it. I thank you a lot.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah.
I pretty much had to come on tonight and go from text to audio because I heard I think Steven's on.
Steve is here,
yeah, and we spar real well.
It's all right. Sparring's okay as long as we keep it above the waist. It's all good.
Yeah,
anyway, check Thailand's coastline. Check Thailand's coastlines, geographical long. Yeah. So just catching up. Sorry, TTT, Teacher Thomas, Thailand. Sorry, not familiar with that one. I'll have to go and check him out. See what he has to talk about. Some people love the city life, others enjoy the beaches. Well, that's the thing. I think Thailand has it's a small country in comparison to Australia, for instance. Everything is sort of so much more reachable if you want a particular sort of lifestyle. Like a Sydney person, like I used to love living in Cairns, or not living in Cairns, I used to visit Cairns. And I loved Cairns. It was, Cairns is a very similar climate to Bangkok in many respects. And it's a much more laid-back lifestyle. But why didn't I move to Cairns? Well, because my job was in Sydney. If we had an office in Cairns, I would have moved there at a moment's notice. We didn't even have a Brisbane office to stay. We had a Melbourne office and we had a New Zealand office. They're all colder. Yeah, I wanted warm climates. But yes, that sort of lifestyle suited me. Just something just simple. I got mates of mine, love business. They love building businesses, like although I've done it, I just can't handle that pace. Well, I can, but it no longer becomes me. It becomes me in the pursuit of money, which sort of seems to sort of take a lot of the enjoyment out of life out of the way from things. But unfortunately, money is an essential part of our lifestyle. We need it coming in. Ideally, what people need to do, they need to find something they enjoy doing, and that was one thing that was always my bonus. That I just love computers, so stick me in a room full of servers. That was keep me away from the political nature of the business. Give me the server room. What do you want done? Tell me how when you want it done by. Give me the money to do it, and that's it. I will be your man, but that's it. And outside that, I don't want to play the game anymore. Bang Sarai. Where's Bang Sarai? I don't know Bang Sarai. I've heard the name somewhere. Oh, it's between Jonty and Marayong, is it? I've been down there once. We need to do. I said now that we've got the business running, just getting Chanya to take the extra day off to go and visit Rob last week or this week. That took 3 or 4 weeks of planning, just to make sure that she was okay to take an extra day off work.
Rob looks like he's lost weight.
Rob's lost a bit of weight, and so's Andy. Andy's lost 20 kilos. Andy's been doing what I should be doing, is doing an hour's exercise a day, and he stopped drinking beer. And I thought I didn't drink much beer. The exercise would do me well, I'm sure. But I actually woke up this morning with a sore back, and that was just because of the fact that I went to bed at 12 instead of 2, and by 7 o'clock in the morning I was feeling a bit stiff lying down, so I had to get up.
Warren is a couch potato.
Yeah, and I got this lovely this lovely chair that I bought. 6,000 baht for this chair. It is so comfortable. Playing games in this thing here, it's like I don't want to go into it. But it doesn't do much for my posture. It doesn't do much for me getting out and about. And of course, yesterday running around the city, I'm walking everywhere. That's probably why I got a sore back, because I got the.
Charm's a nice alternative to patio too. I like the way Rob lives his life there. It's good style. I mean, he still has fun. Just because he's not in patio, he still has fun. I mean, drinks a beer. He likes to talk to the ladies. He likes to.
He's got even more relaxed. Yeah, he's even more relaxed than me.
He's a good example. He's a good example of how to live in Thailand. I think not that everybody has to live the way other things say.
That's right. Yeah.
Live, but I think he really exemplifies
Guys,
a great
who is
way to
it?
approach.
Robert Groves.
Oh, okay.
That was the last video I put out. We did
It's the sort of guy that
his
you
house
need
too.
in Thailand, not those other sleazy shitheads.
Robert, yeah, go on.
Warren, the best thing for your back might be Kawasaki 250.
A Kawasaki 250. No, my bike's fine now. What I need is what they call a reverse incline bed, so I can stretch my back every day.
The new handlebars in the bike.
Oh, they're going good, but as I said, I haven't done much riding. I got to get this top box done so I can go shorter distances. So it's okay to go for a ride for a long distance, because you can take all your gear with you, and you can take your carry bags and pull your stuff away. But if I just want to go down to the mall, right, it's a 20-minute ride, right? It's carrying your helmet and the leather gear, and what do you do with all that shit? You got to carry it around with you.
Why did you change the handlebars for? Why did you change the handlebars? What was the problem?
Just better styling. It's more of a cruiser style. It's just
I'm just egging him on for
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
really
yeah.
wants.
no, actually, I like the Vulcan. Don't worry, I do love the Vulcan. The other bike was just like a city bike, you know. It'd be a nice little
The
city
new
bike.
handlebars look like they're more upright, are they, or they're more narrow?
They're closer to the body, so I get to relax more on, you know, in that seated position, right? So although I don't have a backrest, right, I get to sit back more. So you know, the other bars were there. This one's here. The bars are like this. I get to just cruise. It's a more of a cruiser position because your feet are out
Does it
in
work
front of
out
you.
or not?
Oh yeah,
Does it work out
the
better?
bars are perfect. Yeah, bars are perfect. But I need the top box so I can do shorter rides, you know, because then I need someone to put the gear. I know. Look, when you get to
I was
Thailand,
gonna say, yeah,
leaving
yeah,
your helmet on
so-
your helmet, leaving your helmet on the handlebars, and leaving your jacket on the handlebars. I know Thais do it, but I just feel uncomfortable about doing it. You know, it's just I just see the fact that it's okay. You're a Thai rak Thai, but they see a Farang get up a bike. Oh, let's just take his helmet and his helmet and safety gear because he's a Farang. You know, I still have that underlying perception that would happen. It probably would never happen, but there is a certain level of being uncomfortable here in Thailand as a foreigner. You know, one of the things, a Thai would quite happily leave their helmet stuck on their bike, their safety gear stuck on their bike, and walk into the shops for an hour, and come back, and the helmet and the safety gear will still be there, because that's what Thais do. But as a foreigner, getting off the bike, putting the helmet and jacket on the bike like that, there is a certain level of unfounded uncomfortableness. I can't prove it, and I'm not going to test the waters on that, but you just know it's just not the thing you should do. So the top box, once the top box goes on, helmet and jacket goes in the top box, locks up, then I can walk away from the bike and feel comfortable the fact that when I get back I've still got a helmet and I've still got a jacket, you know.
I think most times you're not in danger of somebody nicking it, but it certainly does happen.
That happens. Well, it happened to Pa. Pa had one of his helmets taken. When I got the one, because I think the one that was taken was the M-SLAS helmet, because when I bought the M-SLAS back in 2016, we actually bought, you know, I've still got the jackets here, but I bought the helmet as well. You know, the Yamaha helmet. I think it was an M-SLAS helmet. It's just a nicely styled helmet. It's like one of those sort of things. It's something that people would want. It's not, you know, a Thai helmet. It generally is one of the, what do they call it, those cheap
Plastic buckets.
cheap plastic bucket helmets. Nobody want to steal one of those.
Plastic bucket.
Effectively, that's a particular
Kitty,
brand.
kitty. What do they call them? Kitty helmet.
Yeah, but
Yeah, Hello Kitty.
this was a proper, you know, Yamaha full safety rated helmet, and he parked somewhere, you know, for half an hour, came back and the helmet's gone, because it's not a cheap helmet. It's a proper safety helmet, and it has, you know, like branded. I think I was pretty sure it was a branded M-SLAS helmet. Somebody took it. You know, do you worry about it? Oh, well, I gave it to Pa, you know, because you know, went with the bike. You know, well, that's an M-SLAS. This is an M-SLAS helmet. Have the helmet. You know, that's what you do. Was it Ian Black? Does anybody think there's a massive overreaction to this flu virus, which is bunked to some? I think we talked about that last week. We probably won't talk about it this week because we're wrapping things up now. But yeah, the pandemic. Yeah, there was something I posted on my Facebook feed. Now, of course, this is as we used to say. I saw it on Facebook. Must be true. What's Chanya doing now? Just posting another photo there. My feed. Where's my feed? Come on. Catch up. What the? Steve Alexander. Sun's out. Perfect riding weather. Dress for the ride, not the slide. I should get out of the. There we go. So, thanks, Steve. Putting that one on there. When you're riding a bike, dress for the ride, not the slide. That's a good saying. Yeah, but this one here, this one came up on the feed the other day. My comment was, "Oops, the pandemic is failing. Guess what? Guess when it's now down to some alien invasion because the race riots aren't working either." but this is something somebody's pulled up on, I think, Fox News. Like, if you believe anything's Fox News, you believe, God, that's a hell of a bridge in Sydney, I'd like to tell you. But scientists warns the virus may be disappearing too fast for vaccine studies to produce meaningful results, which was then connecting consciousness. They're worried about the virus is going away too fast for them to make a vaccine. They say will make it go away faster. Read that again. So the virus is going away. Right? It's a natural thing. This is it just like the flu. It's not going to totally go away. It's just like the flu, right? It has a little bit more contagious aspect to it. It creates a sort of it can inflame the lungs more to give you, if you're more prone to illness, the lung infection you get from it, which is pneumonia, right, can kill you because it's a stronger infection. Right. The one thing that's not being sort of said anywhere in any of these studies, the virus is a virus. The virus doesn't kill you. It's what the virus produces in the body's reaction to the virus, which is, the things that's killing you, right? The chest infection, which is the most prominent one, but that's less than half of the people dying are dying from pneumonia. The people who are dying are dying of heart disease and other things, kidney failures and things like that, because they were pre-existing conditions. But they're all being lumbered in, and the proof is out there, and it's irrefutable now. People are being reported as dying as COVID-19 because it was in their system. This is totally wrong, right? It should state primary cause of death was COVID-19 present, yes or no, and we should see a different set of ratings. Stop panicking, people. But anyway, that's not talking about. We're not going to go into the whole thing again. The whole thing is a plan. I don't know what the plan is supposed to produce, right? But it's completely ruined a lot of people, right? We just need to wake the frick up and just get over it and start to get back to life again. Anyway, enough of my little rant on COVID-19.
How about underreporting?
Underreporting, that's happened as well. But yeah, that was just something that came up on the feed. I can't prove it. I didn't watch the Fox article, but I'm pretty sure that it's been pulled because it's creating the it's not the what do you call it? It's not the what do you call it? It's not the underlying story that they want to propagate.
Warren, if I could intervene for just a minute.
Yeah.
And toss out my opinion.
Sure.
I think COVID-19 is a tragic missed opportunity for the people on this planet to unite and find a common cause to get together.
Oh, without a doubt. So this is the altruistic nature of my way of being as well. Why are we not sort of seeing this sort of thing, right? Now, it also highlights, without a doubt, it highlights the unpreparedness of every government and the self-serving nature of every politician out there on the planet, of how inept that these people are. Simple and plainly, right? What if it was something like Ebola?
That's a long time. Yeah, how is he?
That's right. You want to go off? I'll mute you, Stephen.
Like I said, yeah, it's just.
It's all right. He's in a chat with somebody else there. I'll turn him back on and we'll check him in a minute. If Luke or Blue tell me when he's finished that phone call, I'll put him back on again. But yes, it's one of those things that if we had,
it's not from me.
what was that? But yeah, sort of it's highlighted the fact that every government is ill prepared if there was a real virus. This is the biggest thing that we've highlighted right now. Come on, can we have some unification, right? Concerted effort. If something really serious did happen, like I keep on reminding me of that movie World War Z. Remember that one? It was a great movie. I loved that movie. Right? If that happened, right? If it was that contagious, what would the world be doing? This is unfortunately, this is a thing. It's just this virus has just shown the fact that every country in the world is ill prepared to deal with something new, ill prepared to work together, ill prepared to take a humanitarian aspect on life, and ill prepared, right, to safeguard the things that matter in their life, right? And it's going to get worse before it gets better. I still predict that there's going to be a second stock market crash, because what the stock market's doing right now is ridiculous. But anyway, that's just another thing. Anyway, is Stephen finished on the phone yet? Let me just see. $150
we're taking it.
No, he's still on the phone. Anyway, what do we got going? So, agree with government's stupid to send to, yeah, I know. Banning travel. This is, I think, what we should be doing is we should be travelling. Looking out. They said that Thailand seems to produce the fact that put a mask on, keep social distancing, and we can keep the thing in check, right? The R naught of 3.0 this is the thing that's not even highlighted anywhere. The R naught supposedly around about 2.8 to 3.0 with the data that's been collected now, right? Simple, using a face mask and social distancing, right? And exercising cleanliness can reduce that R naught 3.0 to an R naught of about maybe 0.8 or 0.7, which is what the current flu season virus, the flu season would be. It's containable. Yes, people will get it. People will get sick, right? If you're ill prepared and you don't take your multivitamins, if you don't take your vitamin C, if you don't take your fish oil tablets, if you don't keep your body system in some sort of physical good health, right, then you might fall ill, right? If you've got a secondary illness, like some people might have diabetes, which is showing up in the numbers coming out. They're very highly susceptible. If you're type 2 diabetic, right, it can have a really bad effect on your lymph nodes and everything else, right? If you've got a heart disease, vitamin D, beer and whiskey, yeah. If you've got an existing heart disease, if you've got high blood pressure, if you've got kidney problems, if you've got other ailments which were already fairly serious in your life, well, you throw pneumonia on the top of it, right? That's it. Your body goes into complete overdrive, and you're ill prepared to deal with it, and it's an unfortunate situation. But everybody on this planet can solve the problem right now. Eat better, exercise, do the right thing, eat the right food, right? And guess what? You'd probably find health would come back to your own life, and you'd be less susceptible to catching the virus. But that would mean changing your lifestyle, which most people seem to be. And look, I can be accused of the same thing. I won't even do an hour's exercise a day. Because why? Because I'm just too damn relaxed to do it. Games are more important. My avatars don't need exercise. My fingers do. You get the idea. Andy Stubbs, yes, died on a comment. As I said last week, there was some sort of shark attack victim. The arm washed up on the beach. They had a blood test on the arm, and they actually wrote that off as a COVID-19 death. But that's what happens, It shouldn't be done that way, right? Do we have people with dying of heart disease being listed as dying of the flu? Well, does that go on? Does that go on the death certificate? You had the flu when you had kidney failure, or come on?
I think in another 10 years' time, another one of these COVID 21, 22, 23 or something like that will come on again, and all of us will start coming back to the same old tune again.
John from South Korea. Good afternoon. John B6703. I really hate to ask what the B6703 actually means. It's nice of you to join us. We're about wrapping things up here anyway. We've gone to the 2-hour mark, so we normally start wrapping up after 2 hours. I remember the days when you were looking to join a gym. Well, there's a gym up the road. The gym I went to was a 3-month thing. I just wanted to do something, and I realised the fact that I can't do what those young tykes do in there and start lifting weights and doing that. Look at me, I'm in the gym like this pretty good, because that's the thing. As soon as a pretty girl walks in, you want to freaking lift more weight than you're supposed to, and that's the thing. You'll throw your back out, and I threw my back out because there's pretty girls in the gym. Sorry, that's what happened, right? But I did the 3 months, and showed me the fact that I need to think about it more seriously. What I do plan to do is I plan to get a free weight set and do some weights, right, and get my back stretcher and things like that for when I get the house, because we'll have a room for that. So Stephen's room will become the gym as well, because there won't be a gym at the estate. They're not putting a gym in, as far as I know. They may choose to, but I don't know. But at least if I had to walk, 20 yards to a gym or something like that, I'd use it. But getting the motivation. Right now, it's calisthenics or isometrics, which I've got the exercise mat, but I probably get it once a week. I don't get it out every day because, again, I don't have the room, and this is all set up with the screen, and I've actually got to pull all this crap down behind me to actually get the exercise mat, because I can't put the exercise mat anywhere else. So it's just one of those. It's an inconvenience, I suppose that's why they call them inconveniences. But I do have plans. They're just not becoming a reality right now. And after yesterday walking around for 8 hours, my back's sore because I walk funny because of my gammy foot, and throws my hips out, which throws my back out, which makes life a bit uncomfortable for me. But that's just because I'm old. Sorry, I'm old. When was headed to a COVID test, right? No, it's died in a car accident. Yep, COVID death. Yeah. Yes, that's the way it goes. But anyway, so we're just moving into the COVID-19 discussion. I can usually get away with that. Right. But anyway, so we're just moving. That's Luke. Luke feeding back now. Yep.
I think Luke is trying to say something.
I think Stephen's finished his conversation on the phone. You finished a conversation on your phone there, Stephen?
Yeah, we all heard all your conversations,
well,
Stephen.
no, I did. Blue did, and so did Luke, but I muted you here so everybody else didn't.
Yeah, Stephen, we all heard all your whole entire lengthy phone conversation online and not being posted in YouTube worldwide.
No, I did mute him. It's all right. As soon as I realised when he was on a phone call, I muted him. I should be in South Korea now, damn you. Anyway, look, we're wrapping things up. Look, we could keep on going, but as I said, it gets a bit much after a couple of hours. We only had the one super chat today, which is a bit of a down on usual. But again, it's just only if you think the stuff's worth super chatting, then super chat it. If you don't, then don't. I don't care. It's always appreciated, but never called for. I need to go and have a bite to eat. But I am thinking about. Oh, Robert Groves. Yeah, he did show up. 6-7 a.m. I should really get to bed.
Ian Black is not in Thailand.
No, that's a different Ian Black. This is an Ian Black. There's two Ian Blacks now. I got my mate Ian that we hung around and did videos with. This is another Ian Black. So still looking for a topic for next week. If you've got any ideas for a topic for next week, let me know and we can do some research on it. or we can just continue just to chew the fat and have a chat and, you know, talk about life in lockdown Victoria again. Find everything that Scotland, yes. Ian Black from Scotland. Yeah, I suppose the weather over there probably too bad right now. I suppose it's starting to chill down a bit. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, there we go. Bossa Nova. He's come up with a $5 super chat there. A couple of marks up for Bossa Nova. There we go. I can afford to buy the Red Bull this afternoon. See, inmates. I think people in Victoria, the straitjackets, they're the real inmates. Poor guys down there. I don't know. Anyway, we are wrapping it up. As I said, got any ideas for topics? Jump on the Discord. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Facebook, anywhere. You know where I hang out. And we'll see if I can formulate some sort of discussion topic for next week. Because I'm starting to run out of things to say. Well, it finally comes through and rings the bell. There you go. It's just that's the way that the system works, depending on how long the delays are. But it's all good. Raining this week. We had rain yesterday here as well. Raining raining this week, just like Chiang Rai. Well, I suppose, yeah. I think this time of the year in Scotland it does start to get a bit on the rainy side of things. One of the things, though, riding bikes in Scotland was always the downfall. And don't start me, Robert. It never gets any rain. They get no rain at all down in Charm. But yeah, so riding bikes in Scotland was always a problem. You know, like trying to sort of pick the weather, because you'd get this mist. You know, you get this early morning heavy dew. And at 40 kilometres an hour, it's like little icicles, like ice needles hitting you in the face if you didn't have a full face helmet. That was always made, you know, long rides uncomfortable because you want to get out early in the morning. But yeah, riding in Scotland in the rain, and then of course it is, you know, then you got the slush and the sleet and the snow. Part I didn't like. But yeah, anyway, I'm just now wrapping things up. Where's the closing screen? Hit the button, and we'll catch up with you people next time. Bye for now. Peace out, and stay cool. And hope to see you here next week. Bye for now.